Hello, hello, hello. This is Stacy Hawkins Adams, your host of Celebrating the Power of Stories. It is my pleasure and delight to be here with you today for another episode of this series of stories and empowerment and hope and life that we're learning from the women and a few good men that I've been interviewing for season one of this YouTube series. So today we have a very special guest with us, and I'm going to introduce you to her in a moment. But first, I want to ask you to hit the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribing to my YouTube channel, please do so that you can follow these episodes in the Celebrating the Power of Stories series, and also some of the other interviews and exciting gems that I'll be sharing with you over the course of this year and the years to come. And also spread the word. If Sheila's interview, you're going to hear our amazing conversation. If this inspires you, please invite your friends to watch along with you. And what I've been encouraging women to do is maybe get together one evening, have a sister circle, watch this interview, watch the others together, and have discussions and talk about your own journeys and how you have celebrated and you are celebrating the power of your own story. The purpose of celebrating the power of your story is so that you can live life untapped. And a life untapped is a life of purpose, passion, impact, joy, and we absolutely have to sprinkle in some fun. So that is my wish for you, and that is what you're going to hear today from our fabulous guests. So welcome, 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 Sheila Taylor-Clark.
Hello. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. It is truly my honor. So I've known Sheila since our college days, but I will tell you, I have been an admirer of hers from afar. Oh gosh, for so many years. Sheila has such an amazing journey, but she's an amazing person, and she's an amazing person, I should say. So many hats she wears. I honestly don't know how she does it. People ask me all the time how I do all the things. I don't know how Sheila does it. So Sheila,
Duct tape and glue. Duct tape and
say it
glue.
again.
Duct tape and glue.
I
And
love
lots
it.
of
I love it.
prayer.
Yeah, yes. So tell us what you do, and then we'll kind of get into your how.
Of course. So I am a licensed CPA, actually licensed and two-state certified public accountant, which is a fancy way of saying that I do taxes and for corporate entities at my regular job. And then I own my own business where I also do taxes, financial consulting, planning, controversy with the IRS and other taxing authorities for small businesses. So pretty busy in that space. I've wanted to be a CPA since I was 9 when they counted the votes for the Miss America pageant. And they said the votes are counted by the CP accounting firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. They are very powerful if they're around here picking queens. So
I love
that's
it.
how I got my start. And then I interned with the IRS when I was at Jackson State University and just fell in love with all things taxes. So I've been doing that quite a while now. So actually, I'm in the middle of tax season. So I just made a list because I have to do some client returns when I get off this interview.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now that's what you do for your day job.
Yes,
You also are very involved in your community. You have a beautiful daughter. How old is your daughter
yes.
now?
My daughter is 14.
Oh
Yes,
my
and her name is Mackenzie. She is an eighth grader getting ready to head to high school in the fall, and I'm so not ready. I still remember that baby that I had prematurely that was 2 pounds and 9 ounces. So it's wonderful to look and see the beautiful young woman that she's grown into.
wow. And I feel like one of her internet aunties because I just knew you were going to tell me
Yes,
that.
correct.
She's
Yes,
still
that's the
10 in my
internet niece.
mind.
Internet niece. That's right.
That is amazing. So I mentioned that because there's this other big role you have in your community. So tell us
Yes.
about that role as well.
Yes. In 2022, I was elected to the school board for the Louisville Independent School District. And so I had run again the year before in 2021 against an incumbent. I was unsuccessful, but so close. I think I lost by less than 400 votes. And I had a lot of people reach out to me, including the superintendent, and just, people were so impressed and really wanted me to run again. And I think part of the reason that the community was so much behind me is that our school district is very diverse.
Mhm.
And we didn't have that diversity reflected on the school board. And so we had only had one other Black person, a Black woman that had been on the board in 126 years of the school district. And so I am the type that, most people, if they lose something, they're like, okay, I'm done. But I was the type that thought this is important to me. I really want to be a voice for all of our kids and to show that representation and to do some good things on the board. And I felt like they needed a financial person with the budgets that they were in charge of. And so I just made it in my mind, I'm going to keep running every year. So until I get on, I'm going to keep running every year. So luckily, the next time I ran in 2022, it was an open seat. Two other people ran against me, but I ended up winning. And so I've been serving on the board. It has been a labor of love. I enjoy it so much because I am all about the kids and I want to make sure that our students have what they need to be successful, whatever that is, in the futures that they create and that they desire. So very excited to be a part of that.
That is so amazing. Congratulations. I'm
Thank
telling you,
you.
I've been following her just on our Facebook, our social media pages, and our college circles. But what is so powerful to me, what is so amazing about this journey that you're on, not only are you a powerful woman, a woman of excellence, a woman of care and community, you are a woman who has been through some life-changing,
Yes.
life-threatening
Mhm.
experiences that one time through that would have made folks sit down and say, I'm just going to like ease through life because I've done
Mhm.
my duty and just be happy
Right.
with life. You are a three-time breast cancer survivor. So
Correct.
tell us a little bit about how how have you become the woman you are through that journey? What gave you the resilience to, because what I hear is, I don't let things stop me. If I know I need to do something, I'm going to go after. So you clearly
Right.
approach
And I'm
it
going
as
to
a
keep going after it.
tell us how you became the woman through that cancer journey and through other trials to the woman you are today.
I think that, a lot of people feel like I'm not strong or I'm not that strong, but you never know how strong you are until you have to be strong. And I can look back over my life and think that certain things happened throughout my journey that got me ready for that battle, if you will. Being put up for adoption, as a baby, having an adoptive mother who I loved that chose me, that I loved as well, but who passed away when I was 6 and a half. And
Mhm,
then being not knowing where I would go because at that point I was a ward of the court. I ended up with a legal guardian throughout the rest of my childhood and just having just not a great childhood and then being I don't want to say turned out to the streets, but anybody that knows if you were foster care situation, legal guardian, once you turn 18 or you graduate, you are on your own. So there is no, parents, safety net, any of that. But knowing that I wanted to go to college, but I was also homeless, if you will, and deciding what am I going to do for a bed? And I credit my adoptive mom because people have told me that as she lingered in the hospital, she really prayed over me. And I
mhm,
believe that that's exactly what happened because things don't make sense on how I was always able to keep going. And I remember thinking, I want to go to college and I have this scholarship, but I don't have anywhere to be before school starts. I don't have anywhere to live. And so I joined the military. And I would
mhm,
love to say, oh, I joined the military because I wanted to fight for my country. And of course, I love America, and that's part of it. But part of it was I'm homeless and I need a bed. And so I
mhm,
joined the military, was there. Jackson State held my scholarship until I was able to finish all of my training or whatever. Went to college, did all that, bought a house really early because I never really had a home, if you think about it. And so I was 24 purchasing my home because I felt like I needed somewhere to be that nobody could die and leave me out of it, or give me away and put me out of it or any of that, that I would
mhm,
have some place to be. And so all of those things that I had gone through, even going through college without the proper support system and knowing that if I failed, I failed, that I had to keep
it's on
going
you.
because there was no safety net. Everything was on me. I think all of that got me ready for that battle with breast cancer. And before I got to that battle, I actually, my mother-in-law, I met my husband. And when I tell you that being a part of that family has been just a wonderful feeling for somebody that grew up the way that I did. They always accepted me, always loved on me. And I loved my mother-in-law because
Mhm,
I felt like I had finally got the mother thing right. I
mhm,
had had all these attempts and nothing had ever worked out. And I really loved my mother-in-law. And so my mother-in-law was young. She had my husband when she was 14. So she was younger mom. And so I never even considered what happens if she's not here, because I mean, she's a young woman. And so she was diagnosed with breast cancer at 44. And I didn't know much about breast cancer. I had done the Komen walks and all that, but really didn't know a lot. And I just know within 2 years, she was gone at 46. And that was very difficult because, again, I finally had got this mother thing right and had a mother figure, somebody that loved me and that I loved, and she was gone. And so, not long, maybe within that year, the next year, I just thought I felt the lump. And,
How old were you at that time?
34.
Mm.
No rhyme or reason. I just felt like I felt the lump. And every time I said, I felt the lump, to my husband, to the doctor, nobody felt anything. But then I shared my mother-in-law's story, dying at the age of 46. I was still grieving. And they said, let's just run some tests. It'll be fine. You're 34. It's okay if you have a baseline. And as I went through the process, every time it was, okay, we saw something, let's look at it again. We see it, let's biopsy. I'm sure it's nothing. At every stage it was, I'm sure it's nothing. And then I remember being at home and thinking, what if I have breast cancer? Because I had never really voiced that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, still grieving my mother-in-law. And so I got the call that said, unfortunately, and a whole bunch of things after, because nothing good ever comes after unfortunately. And so when I got that call, I think I thought, because I had just lost my mother-in-law, that that was it for me. But I felt like I had lived a long life. And that's kind of what I was saying. You lived a long life. You've done all these things. It's been great. You've lived your life stream of becoming a CPA. And, you've had all these experiences. You're a veteran. You got to serve the country, that kind of thing. And I remember telling my husband, I said, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, and it's fine. I'm okay if you get another wife. I hope she's fat, can't wear my clothes. Hope she's super big and she can't cook and all those. But I really thought like that. And my mother-in-law came to me in a dream, and she was spent that day with me, and it's time to leave. And I was sitting by her feet, and she said, "It's time to go. We have to leave now." She was with another lady that had passed. And I said, no, I want to go. And I kept crying. And I said, well, I don't want to go in these clothes, because she finally said, okay. And I said, I need to go change and put on my white dress. And so as I left to go do that and came back, I saw them walking in the distance with the sunlight over them. The sun was setting. And I woke myself up, and my face was wet because I had been crying. And it let me know it's not your time. You're not going anywhere. It's not your time. So I knew even before the exams, the surgery, before they told me what the stage was, that I was going to be okay because of that experience. And I felt like I went through it. It was more of a blur. I had some depression, but again, I knew that I was going to be here and I needed to fight whatever it was. So after that, I felt like, I've lost my mother-in-law. I've gone through this. It's time for me to become an advocate. So I got really involved in breast cancer, joined an organization, ended up becoming their board president that provides free medical care to women that are diagnosed with breast cancer that don't have insurance. And I still serve on the advisory board to this day because it's important to me. I started speaking about what I had gone through and just becoming more of an advocate for women that were fighting breast cancer and having them advocate and learn how to do that for themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
that experience was a lot. But like I said, it was, blurred and really talk about it, just kind of did what I normally do. And then the second time,
How long was the second time after the first
so I
time?
was diagnosed the first time in 2005, and then I was diagnosed again in 2013, the second time.
And at that time, you had your daughter, right? Your
Exactly,
daughter was
exactly.
born.
And I
And
had my daughter, and that was traumatic because again, she was due in November and came in September. And
uh,
so, because I can't ever do anything easy, apparently. And so, just, having a great life, family life and enjoying family life and my baby. And she was born in 2009. And then in 2013, I just had a feeling that came over me uh,
mhm.
that said, you have breast cancer again, which was weird because I had just had a checkup or
Mm.
whatever, just had a mammogram. And because I had a lumpectomy the first time in radiation. And so I just had this feeling, and I went to the doctor and they were like, you were just here. Like, everything's fine. And I think, again, I got a biopsy and they confirmed that it was back. I got that same call, we wish we had better news.
So I want
And
to pause there for a second though,
yeah,
because there's so much in the news now about Black women maternal health, a lot of
right,
that, but in general, healthcare for people of color and how you have to advocate for yourself. And
right.
I tell people I'm the quarterback of my team. You have to be that because of your medical professionals. So how did you, when you went back and they were like, you were here, you're fine. Tell me, like, did you have to insist on the biopsy? Like, how
I
did you?
don't think I had to insist, and I think I spoke more in terms that they could understand about breast cancer and the risk, and that I had had it before, and as a Black woman, and I was able, because I had educated myself and become such an advocate. It was more of not even asking, hey, I need, will you? It was more of telling you, no, I'm
Like,
telling
here's what
you that
you're gonna
this
do.
is happening and this is
Yeah.
what we're going to do. And if I need to call the insurance company, I will. But it's more of learning that process from the first time. And
Mhm.
so they ordered a biopsy, and again, like I said, got the news. Wish we had better news was how that call went, and I was like, oh God, I'm here again. And I
Mhm.
was actually serving as, I feel like I was either national treasurer or Western region president of the National Association of Black Accountants, because I was headed to their conference, national conference. And so I got through the conference, and then I remember announcing it, and it was like, oh my God, this is different, because I was willing to be okay the first time if something bad was going to happen. But this time, no, I got this baby, that's 3, I believe, at the time. And I said, I gotta do, I gotta beat this, because I don't want her to have the life that I had with no mom. And so
Mhm.
I think that gave me that drive that said, whatever we gotta do, we gotta throw the arsenal of whatever, and whatever, treatments, I don't care how harsh, I gotta do. And so that's when I decided to have a mastectomy, a double mastectomy. And they said, well, really, we're not sure if maybe you don't need to have chemo. We're not really sure, because you take a test to let you know if you need to have it. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it, but because, I'm a little bit vain, because I think I'm kind of cute. And I was like, I don't want to lose my hair. And I thought about, losing my breast, which is another mourning process in itself. But I kept looking at that little girl who I felt like, deserved to have her mom fight to be here for her. And so I ended up having chemotherapy, had the double mastectomy. I had, I feel like I had, maybe I didn't have radiation. I don't think I had radiation that time. I just had the chemotherapy. It was very harsh. The surgery, reconstructive surgery, failed
Mhm.
after a while, where I ended up with a uniboob. I guess that's what I would call it,
Oh,
because I had to remove one, which was weird, because then
wow.
I had to try to make it look like I had two. And then they finally took both of them, and I had these whole scars, deep scars in my chest. And the next reconstruction was going to be, we have to go in your back and use your um, what do they call that? The back muscle or whatever, to
Yeah.
create breast. And so I waited, I'm going to say a couple of years, but like I said, I'm vain and I wanted to wear swimsuits and tube tops and all that stuff. And people don't realize, it's not, when you don't have boobs, it's not like you got little boobs. You really don't have
It's just
boobs. So if I put
make
on a
it
tube top, it will roll down because there was nothing
um,
to hold it. And then my chest was so badly scarred. And at that time, I want to say I feel like I was 41. Can't really do math right now, 42, somewhere
right.
along there. And so still relatively young to not have breasts. And so I waited a couple of years, had the reconstruction, which was a very long process, and did well from that, got me some good new breasts. And That I would work into every conversation, be talking and, oh, it's sunny outside. Well, yeah, it's sunny, but have you seen the sun on his breast? So, I was having a good time. And so was well, like I said, doing well with that, with
With
work.
two, I'm gonna pause there really quick for
Yeah,
two reasons. Number one, your humor. So you maintained a sense of humor through this. And then you were married. So another thing that people struggle with is their relationships. And so you
yes,
are a woman, your body's changing, your chest is scarred.
right.
So first of all, how did you maintain a sense of humor through it? But then how did you also maintain this relationship with your spouse? Like how did you keep your confidence in your relationship as a wife?
Yeah, I've always had a sense of humor because bad things were always happening to me. And so I had to find a way to laugh and to find, the silver lining and to be able to laugh at it and laugh at myself and be okay. My husband, just has been a great support system this whole time. And when you look at things and you think about how things happen, it's God, and it's not just really things just happen to happen. Remember, he lost his mom to breast cancer. She had chemotherapy. She had, the surgery. So he was right there for that. And I think that gave him the strength to be there for me. And
Mm,
so if he was scared or nervous, or he never let on, he was really a rock for me during that time, which made me want to fight harder and to be stronger for him. We've had a great, marriage and relationship. We've been together since Bill 1997, I believe. So married since 2002. So we've really grown together. And when the storm came, we had a strong enough foundation to withstand it. So definitely that. And like I said, the humor thing, I always like to dress up. I dressed up during,
for
my
y'all.
treatments and
Oh,
did
yes,
all
that's
that.
right. And you would post it. She would post pictures of herself getting treatment. She is in a sorority. She'd have her sorority colors on. She would be decked out. So it was almost like she was taking her Facebook followers and friends on this journey with her. I'm talking about you in third person to the
Yeah,
viewers, but you were taking us on this journey, and it was almost like I want to be with Sheila while she's in chemo today. So I'm coming to your page to see
yes,
how you're doing, to pray
yes.
over
I had
you.
a lot of
You're making
support.
me laugh. You were like, make like,
Mhm.
look at this hat I got on today, or honey, I wore my shoes today. So like you were making us feel better.
Yeah, about the situation. And it made me feel better. And it would bring a light. The oncology nurses would say, we love when you come in. We hate that you're here, but we love to have you because you just bring a light to the oncology room because it's kind of depressing, in there. Everybody sitting in there getting injections for however long it takes. It can be pretty depressing. And I'd be in there, cracking jokes, and I'd be like, yeah, I know you're putting extra Benadryl in my, IV so I can go to sleep, but I'm up now. And, even when I was getting my surgery, I remember talking. I think that might have been during my surgery with my baby or whatever, because I ended up having to have a C hysterectomy
Oh
because
wow.
I had a myomectomy in order to have her, and they just couldn't put things back together. And so I knew I was going to get this one baby, and it was going to be just one. But I felt so blessed. But I remember being up for part of that and telling my doctor, my surgeon, if you mess around, I know you're down there doing whatever, but if you mess around and give me a tummy tuck, I ain't gonna tell nobody. I ain't gonna say, kind of thing. So I always had
Yeah.
those felt that way just to lighten the mood. And so I got through that. Everything was great. And then I guess 2019, I was taking a bath and I felt under my arm. Because remember, I had had a double mastectomy at this point. I didn't have breasts. And so I was like, I feel something under my arm. It feels like a pimple. It's probably just scar tissue from all the surgeries that I had because I had a ton. And I remember feeling like it was getting bigger, but I was headed to Florida for Christmas and I didn't want to think about it. And then when I got back, I said, you know what? I need to go back to the oncologist who, they're used to seeing me now because I'm always there. And they were like, said the same thing. Feel like it's scar tissue, but yeah, let's biopsy it. And by that time, I had a great surgeon that was a female the second time. And she said, who was also a breast cancer survivor. And she said, yeah, I think this scar tissue, but you're right. Given your history, let's go ahead and biopsy. And of course, it was cancer for the third time.
Over time.
And think about it, I got the diagnosis the end of January. And so my surgery was set for March 2020.
Mm.
And
Right.
we
Beginning
were
of the pandemic.
right. And so I was trying to meet my best friend in New Orleans, trying to take my baby to spring break because I knew I was going to be in treatment for the rest of the year. And the world shut down. You know, Disney World shut down. We couldn't go. I couldn't go to New Orleans. And it was COVID. And then I'm nervous because I know that the cancer this time is fast growing. It's under
Mhm.
my arm. And I want to have the surgery, but they are canceling surgeries. So what's going to happen because COVID has happened and shutting everything down? Nobody knows what this pandemic is. You know, it's scary to everybody. We're yes, today we're sheltered, and it was anything that was life threatening. Any surgeries they allow the surgeries to take place. So totally different this time. We dropped off at the curb. My husband could not come with me into the surgery in and be wheeled in by myself. You know, I
Mm.
had to FaceTime my family before they take me in for surgery. I felt like they didn't get it all, so they had to repeat it. I had to have another surgery.
You said you felt like they didn't get it all. This was your feeling or like,
Well, I felt like I hope they get it all kind of thing. And then they
yes.
confirmed that they did not. So they
Oh,
had to repeat the surgery
oh my gosh. Okay.
another month. I think in April, I had another surgery. And of course, because I had had breast cancer before and now it was under my arm, I had to have chemotherapy and radiation
Mm.
both this time. And it was a totally different process because before I could have the support of my sorority sisters, my friends, you know, my Jack and Jill people, you know, would have been there, organizations and stuff. Now, because of COVID, everything was shut down and they were not letting anybody in the oncology center. So I had to drive myself to appointments and take my chemotherapy by myself and then come home. And again, I've decided I'm gonna wear a tutu every treatment and I'm gonna dress up and I'm still gonna have this great attitude about it because you can always think when things like this happen, why me? But then why not me? You know,
Mm.
I am the perfect person for this to happen to. I've been here before. I have, you know, advocated for myself, for others. By then, Komen had appointed me to a national ambassador position. So I was going to DC and talking on the Hill, you know, to Congress about trying to get chemotherapy pills so people that live in rural places don't have to drive, you know, hundreds of miles to an oncology center. They can take their
Mm.
chemotherapy in the comfort of their home, advocating for more money, advocating for the disparity of treatments for Black women and economically disadvantaged women. And so I felt like, again, if it was going to happen to somebody again, I am that person because I know that I have helped so many people. I am the first person a lot of people call when they get the diagnosis, or they say my friend or my cousin or my coworker, can they talk to you? Just got through talking to a judge about a week ago, and she
Mm.
called. It was 11 o'clock at night, and I
Mm.
said, why is this judge calling me? And I took her call, and she said, I'm scared, and
Oh,
I
wow.
need to talk to you, and I don't want to leave my daughter. And we just had a conversation. And so I always look at what you go through. You can take that pain and turn it into purpose. And I
Mhm.
feel like, you know, that's what I have been able to do. Am I happy I had breast cancer 3 times? Of course not. Hoping 3 times is a charm and it
Yeah.
does come back. But knowing that, you know, God is good, this is my purpose. You know, we always talk about purpose-driven life, and this has been my purpose. And I have used that, you know, test and made it a testimony to help others. And so, and I will continue to do that. Started a foundation in 2016 called Socket to Cancer, and I provide comfort items to women in treatment for breast cancer, pillows, fuzzy socks, blankets. So when you're taking your treatment or you're just at home and you want to feel a little more comfortable, I'm able to help with that, as well as the organizations that I continue to work with. Komen as a national advocacy ambassador, chair of their advocacy committee here locally, part of the Speakers Bureau, sharing my story and all of that. So I've been just really blessed. I was able to get through that third treatment. Like I said, I went through the chemotherapy, then I started radiation, had one radiation and got COVID. And I was so scared. I had let my daughter play basketball with her team, and then they went to a tournament. And it was like, I guess, a super spreader kind of event. Everybody on the team got it, and I got it. And the crazy part was, I wasn't that sick. And I kept thinking, I'm in treatment, this is going to be really bad. But, God brought me through that, prayers and all that. And I had been so careful. I'm in treatment. I can't go anywhere. People come over, I wave through the window, they leave stuff on my doorstep. I turned 50 during that time. I had a parade, because I couldn't be around people. And so I had been really careful. So to get COVID was not good. But I made it through that, was able to finish my radiation, finished by the end of the year of 2020. And then, like I said, from COVID to candidate, ran for office a few months later.
Okay. That is so amazing to me. So, but yeah, before we get to the candidacy and how you kind of bounce back from that, so third time you make it through, you keep yourself motivated. How are you talking about this to your daughter at this point? Because she was
So
very young for the
she
second
was
time.
very young the second
This time
time.
she knew it was
Yeah, the
happening.
second time. And a friend had given me a book. Her friend had written a book. She was a breast cancer survivor. And it was basically about sharing your story with a young child. And it talked about being a butterfly. And, it showed the lady with the thing on her head and her hair was gone. And it read the story of my daughter. And she was, I think, 3 or so. And she said, "But where's your bald head?" And so I pulled it off and she kissed my head and she said, "You're going to be fine, mommy. You'll be like the butterfly." So she had kind of been through it a little before. This
Yeah.
time she was older and understood. So I felt like I tried to hide a lot of stuff from her the first time because she was so young. And then the third time I wanted it to be, I tried my best to make things normal. The good thing was, not the good thing, but remember, everybody was sheltered in place. Nobody was going
So, yeah,
anywhere.
so
So
she
that
wasn't.
kind of helped
Yes.
to normalize it for her. But I also wanted her to see, your mom is gonna fight this thing, and I wanted her to learn about her own voice, speaking up for yourself, being an advocate, her own fight and her own strength through what I was going through. Shared quite a lot with her the third time. So
That's really, really powerful. And so you come through that. We're all celebrating with you, excited for that. And
yeah.
then you decide, I'm going to run for
I'm gonna
office.
run for
So
office. What was
did your
that about?
husband say, go sit down? Or did anybody
Everybody's
say,
like, where, you need to sit down. But I think during that, when my daughter started school, I think I'm just a curious person. I wanted to always be that parent that was involved where the teachers knew my name, the principal, they knew me at the school. So if something ever happened that was kind of out of hand, they would feel comfortable calling me before taking whatever action, or we could talk through whatever action was. And so I joined, and I think I joined the PTA, and I think the first meeting I asked about the budget. What do you do? You're a CPA. Oh, you're a new treasurer. And so it kind of went through, I was the treasurer, then I was the president of the PTA, and then I served on the school health advisory committee for the district. And so started serving there, served a few terms, and then decided, I should run for school board. And I had gone through trainings about, becoming a board member, trainings in Louisville, where I live, it was the
Texas,
citizens,
still in
can't think of the
Texas?
name of it, but an advocacy thing to kind of help you get on boards and commissions, and maybe you'll run for city council one day. So that was kind of my plan, and was like the natural progression, because I had become a commissioner for planning and zoning for the city and served on all these other committees. So that seemed like the natural progression. But then a couple of people talked to me about, school board, we really could use, diversity and somebody that's a great advocate. And with your background, I think you'd be great. You're a parent, you're already involved in the schools. And it made more sense, even though in my mind, I had never really thought like that. Everything that I had been doing really was leading me to that. And so I decided to file against somebody that was already in office. Probably wasn't a good idea, but just thought, this will be great and I'll run. And even if I don't win, to give me some good experience about what I want to do next. And I was just in shock, really, of the outpouring of support that I got. And I didn't know what I was doing because I thought, school board, it's a little bit step up from PTA. I didn't get the political part of it. So I didn't know anything about you got to block walk and you got to, go meet voters. I just didn't, I was like, oh, they'll look at my resume. I'm the best person, they'll vote for me. But I did so well for somebody that did not know the intricacies of politics, if you will, and running a campaign. And I was like, you know what? If they do have an open seat, I should run for it. And I was a little disappointed because, again, somebody decided to run and then another person, and there were three of us. And I said, no, this is important. I want to be a voice and I want to bring my financial acumen, to the board. We have these budgets, $1 million budgets, and they really could use a CPA on the board. I'm also a parent. Not many parents were on the board, maybe one, I believe. And I said that perspective is going to be important because I have skin in the game. And so decided to run. Like I said, I saw what I did wrong the first time. And I said, I'm going to spend the summer kind of connecting with people and doing that. Now, what I wasn't prepared for was the racism that I experienced.
Oh,
So
really?
that I found that to be shocking as someone who had grown up after I had to leave Indiana when my mom died, um, and go to Mississippi, the Delta of Mississippi, where it was still segregated. I'll
Yeah.
say economically, but we know that ended up being, segregated for real. The Black kids were in one school, the white kids were in private academy across the track. We didn't have running water at one point, and then there was like open sewage being thrown in our open waste into the stream outside. There's a whole story about Tunica being called Sugar Ditch and all that. If people are interested in reading it, 60 Minutes did a story
I
on it
remember
about it
that.
being
Yeah.
the poorest county in
Didn't
America
realize that
at the
was your
time.
county.
Right,
Wow.
the poorest county in America. And so I had gone, but I had never really experienced racism, maybe because things were so separate. And
Hmm.
so even when I joined the military, I had no experience with racism, served with all races or whatever, ethnic backgrounds. So I was not prepared for the racism that I endured, and just seeing people make public comments about, we don't want the board to be woke and we don't want the board to be diverse. We don't
Oh,
believe in
wow.
diversity. And then
We're in a
even,
suburb of Dallas. So,
yeah, and I'm in, the suburbs, but I'm still like, why is this happening? And so I remember send out texts, this is a reminder, this is whoever from the Sheila Taylor campaign, this is where you vote, or early voting is tomorrow, or whatever. Just, text that you send to the different people, voters in the
right.
area. And I sent a text, but people have teams, right? I had money because all my friends, thank y'all, were donating. So I had all this money, but I didn't have a lot of volunteers really. And I had a decent number, but I did a lot of things myself. And so I'm sending the text, but I'm not going to say this is Sheila Taylor with the
Right.
Sheila
Right.
Taylor campaign. This is Patrice, my middle name, with the Sheila Taylor campaign, blah, blah. Because I didn't want, to get into or somebody to respond or whatever.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
got the response back, I'm not voting for that N-word. So that
Oh,
was the
wow.
text. And I was like, are you serious? And just that, my signs were getting torn down, they were being, ripped up, and I mean, it was a lot going on. And my thing, the reason I was so hurt was because I was like, this is my community. I'm going to school, my kid is going to school with I could be going to school with this person that just sent this. I'm shopping at grocery stores, in church, just in the same community. Like, who are these people that hate me so much? And I'm thinking, because I'm naive, probably, I'm the Black person that is like safe, that everybody's supposed to like. Because I did all
Right,
the things y'all said, go to college, get a
right. You're a
job,
productive
be a
citizen.
property owner, get married, have your baby in wedlock. So I felt like I had done all these things, and I still was reduced to the N word. And so, like I said, I had run that year before, and another Black lady had run, and I think they treated her like even worse than they treated me.
Wow.
But they treated us both pretty bad, and so she internalized it. It was just to read her message on Facebook is, even if I see it today, it will reduce me to tears. But I lived that too. But I
Mhm.
took it to be, oh, you don't want the N word? Oh, now you got to get the N word. So because I'm gonna keep
So just
running
so you
until I
know,
win.
yeah,
And so that's how I did it, because I'm going to show you better, the best, thing is for me to just run and win, and then you have to see me for the next 3 years,
right, right.
making policies or whatever. And so, but that
Mhm.
was something that I went through that, was very hurtful. But it's no different from, I think, school boards. People see it on the news, all these, things being said. People see the attacks on diversity, and inclusion and equity. And, I'm not exempt because I, went to college, or I have, a master's degree or a career, or I live a certain place. I'm not exempt from those things. So
Wow, wow, it's amazing. And yet there's still that strength, that resilience, that hope. And there's a fun side to you. I don't know if you want to talk about your fun internet hobby,
oh,
following around some of your favorite shows. Because I
so
mean, it's
yeah,
amazing what you're doing as a leader, just in a financial world. But then there's this other fun side of you. Let's talk a
yeah,
little bit
I love to, have conversations and to make jokes, and I like to write. So I like to write in that, voice where I'm making jokes. I love reality TV. I love certain shows like, Power, and some like I love Lifetime. We're the Lifetimers because, when they have the movies come out, there's a group of us and they'll reach out, Sheila, where are you? The movie's getting ready to start, and we live tweet about like what's happening, and we make jokes, and it's been so fun because a lot of the actors have gotten into it, and the
about it.
producers, and they talk back to me, so that's been exciting. And it kind of started, I feel like, around Scandal. I
Yes,
was late to the party. I was not a gladiator, and I couldn't understand why every Thursday or whenever it came on, a pin could drop on Facebook. Nobody was there because they were all into this show. And so I started tweeting around that. And so Kerry Washington would respond, all of the other actors. And I was like, this, I might have something here where they're talking back to me and they're liking what I got to say. And people started following me. And so I have a really good time. Now I've had to kind of tone it down a little bit
right.
because
Because of your position
when I
with
was
the
running,
board.
people pull up your stuff and they use it to, everybody doesn't get my sense of humor. And
Right,
some people were pulling up things that I might have said, and it was clearly a joke, but they were like,
right.
oh, blah, blah, blah. So I've had to tone down some of that since now I'm an elected official. So, but I
I
have a good time with
yeah.
that. Like I said, just having a good time on Twitter. I used to love to pick fights for some reason, internet fights, until I got blocked. I would keep going because I felt like, oh, I got this person on ropes, and it was just words. It wasn't anything mean. I didn't talk about their mama or anything, but
Right.
they would block me, and I would say, man, I was having a good time, and then I got blocked. So I don't pick the fights anymore. But it was COVID. I was bored, so I was going through treatment. I was trying to find something else to do. So
Yeah, yeah. So we won't even share your handle for that because we're going to keep you
yeah,
elected.
don't share my handle.
We're
They'll
going to keep
probably
you
find me
elected.
anyway. But yeah,
Right. But yeah, but I shared that to say you are multidimensional. And I think a lot of times, especially as women, we get caught up in just the title of mom or just the
yeah,
title of I'm a corporate
Right.
America, just this one person.
Right.
But we are
Right.
multidimensional. We can be serious. We can be
Yes.
prayerful. We can
That's
have fun.
right.
And I think all of those things can inform who we are. And that's how we live a life untapped. That's how we celebrate
Yes.
the power of our stories. And so I just wanted to share that because I want to thank you for being you. Thank you for
Yeah, this is wonderful.
inviting all of us into your space. And I say that your Facebook friends, but all the friends that you have, of course, across Dallas too, because you could have also gone through this journey quietly.
Yeah.
Because some of us do. I mean, there are some things I
Right.
don't share till after I'm through the experience.
Right. That's right.
I'm a person that sometimes I have to experience it and process it, and then I can
Then
share.
you can
But
share
there's
it.
this boldness about you that you share it and you bring us along, and that gives other people hope. So, is
Yeah.
that intentional? Do you see that as part of like your life purpose to just, use
I
your
think
personality to live?
so. I feel like it is. I think, and even with the cancer battle, the first time, I was completely really silent about it. And I think I was still grieving and, I didn't know what this was, still young, didn't want to talk about it, didn't know how to talk about it. But the second time I said, I gotta talk about it. I gotta be vocal. I gotta be an advocate. I gotta share, hey, this is my experience. And if this happens to you, this is what helped me, and maybe it can help you. You have to speak up for yourself because had I known the first time when they didn't get clear margins, if I had known that meant the cancer is somewhere else outside of where they thought it was, maybe I should have had mastectomy then. But I
Mhm.
had a male surgeon, I had a male oncologist, I had nobody really to advocate for me or to tell me anything. And the person that could have helped, wasn't here. So I think I wanted to share everything that I had learned in my journey, and I wanted to know more. And just working with these organizations, I learned so much, and I realized staying quiet is like the worst thing you can do. Not
Mhm.
going to get yourself checked out is the worst thing you can do. And so I wanted people to feel comfortable with it's okay to notice changes in your body and to make your healthcare provider understand that. And so I
Mhm.
think sharing that story has been helpful. There are many people that are in private battles. They feel comfortable calling me and we have a conversation. And it's when you're ready to share, if
Mhm.
you're ready to be an advocate, if this life is not for everybody, but if it's something that you want to do, but however you fight, it doesn't matter as long as you just fight.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I
yeah.
love it. So where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10 years? Like, what do you see as, this next chapter? We're women of age now, and you
Women of a
know,
certain age, girl. How did
you're
that happen?
I
I
don't know,
was
but we
just
don't feel it or look it, right?
30. I was just 30 2 days ago. So,
Exactly, right? Exactly.
so
So, like, what do you what's your vision?
at some point, I hope to relax a little bit. I think I have a good 4 to 5 years to kind of do this moving and shaking, whatever that is, to try to get my daughter through high school. And I think once she graduates in 2028, I will probably figure out some things that I want to do for me. I would probably like to teach at the college level at some point and definitely write a book. I
Yeah.
believe, of my experiences to kind of get that done and just really just have a good life, sail into my golden years, with feeling that I've made a difference in this world. So
You absolutely already have, and more to come on that front. So I like to wrap up these conversations by asking my guests to share something that you're reading and something you're writing. What would you like to share?
So what I'm reading, my textbooks. So I am working on a doctorate, and I hadn't really shared that with anybody. I haven't posted it, which is probably interesting since I share everything. But I wanted the option of, girl, if you drop out, you don't want people asking you questions. And so 12 classes for my doctorate. I've completed 6. So since I'm 50% done, I feel pretty good about, okay, I'm definitely going to graduate. I'm set to graduate in February of next year. So going to Purdue Global, feeling good about that. So reading my textbooks, which is a lot because I've been taking 2 classes at a time versus, also working, having a business in all these organizations that I'm a part of, doing community service and all of that. So it's been pretty busy with that. And so excited about that.
Yeah, so that's your reading and your writing. So then
Yeah,
so
writing. I have
tell
to work on my
me.
thesis, my project. Yeah. And so I haven't really decided what my topic will be, but I start the writing process in the next class, which starts, I believe, April 17th. And that's, I have some things. I'm getting my doctorate in education because when I joined the board, I joined, of course, with my financial background. I have CPA and we have all these budgets. So when it comes to that, I'm all over it. What do we need to do with a limited amount of resources that we have because we haven't been funded by the state since 2019 or haven't gotten an increase,
Wow.
but inflation, is driving everything up. And so, but the more I sat there in those board meetings and learned more about accountability and test scores and reading scores and the disproportionality of discipline and just all of those other things more related to education, I felt I needed to have more of an educational background. I felt like I'm not a complete trustee or the trustee I need to be so that the kids have the best trustee in this role. And so I said, I need to know more about education. Of course, I mentioned it to a couple of people and they're like, you can look up YouTube, you can buy some books, you can ask questions. I don't know many people that would go and do a whole doctorate degree, but you know who we are. We're from Jackson State, we're
You're
type A
excellent. Yes.
personalities. We're going to do something, we're going to be all in. And so that's why I decided to do it. And I felt like, Dr. Taylor will have a nice ring unless I go ahead and really change my name to Clark and then I can be Dr. Clark. So,
I love it. I love it. So I usually end there, but I am going to ask you one final question because
yes.
you keep leaving us with wow factor. So again, just tell our friends who are watching how you do it all because you are active, like you said, in all of these arenas. So how do you pace yourself? How do you find the energy? How do you get it all done?
Okay, so the energy has been a thing. As of the last year, it's been a little bit tough, but I think just really planning out your day and planning out the times to get things done. I know, April 15th is coming. It's a deadline. I didn't make it, but it's, statutory. So I got to get certain things done and planning that time. So I might have to work over the weekend. I might have to work, late at night. I might be up a little bit later, but I always say, it's that peak and then there's going to be the valley after where I can, rest a little bit more, wanting to be present for my child. So making sure that I, pop in where I can, have to make time to be at school board meetings. That's a given. But if I have to go to her game or something right before and stay 15 minutes, I do that and head somewhere else. Making time for myself has been probably the most difficult thing because I'm so busy doing all these things. But I always feel like at some point, there's going to be time to take a break and to take those breaks like today, for one Saturday in this time frame. I don't have a lot going on. I have a list of returns. I'm gonna do that later, and I'm gonna go meet a friend and have brunch or whatever. So I think it's just scheduling out your day, making plans, but also making sure that you take care of yourself as well. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, any
yeah.
parting words, any advice that you would give to the many women who consider you a sister or auntie? Any parting words for us?
I would just say, I always think of it in terms of ABC, the ABCs. To be an advocate, be an advocate for yourself, an advocate for others, fight for yourself, fight for others, be you, be authentic, be yourself. Nobody's better at that than you, whoever that is. Don't ever change yourself for anybody or put yourself in someone else's box, or try to fit in someone else. Be authentically you, whatever that means and all that means. And then C, continuous education in whatever it is, be a lifetime, lifelong learner, whatever that is. So if there's something that you want to do, something new that you want to try, go after that, take those experiences as learning experiences. Whatever happens to us, it's all learning. It's never too late. It's never too late to go back to school, clearly. It's never too late to pick up something new, a new language, write a book, whatever it is that you want to do, continuous learning. So those are the gems that I would drop.
Thank you, thank you. And the name of your foundation again?
Sock it to cancer.
And how can we find that? Just like at thecancer.org or?
So it's listed with the IRS website of the 501(c)(3)s. I do need to work on a website. I haven't done as much, I guess, requesting funds and all of that because I've been so busy advocating for the Bridge Breast Network, which I mentioned, as well as Komen. And I didn't want to take funds, divert funds, but I do want to get going with that because I do get donations. I would at some point like to give a scholarship to kids that have been impacted by breast cancer, where they've had a parent or whatever that's had breast cancer. So I plan to get busy with that. That might be the project after the 4 years, so yeah.
But we will definitely in our overview section, we will list
Yeah.
the Komen Foundation and the other
Yeah, the
nonprofit.
Bridge Breast Network. Yes, definitely.
We'll put that in the notes. And I
Yeah.
just want to thank you again, my friend. It's an
Yeah,
honor to
it's been
have you.
wonderful.
And
Yeah.
again, to our viewers, today, go live your life untapped in the many, many ways that you are authentically meant to live. Share this recording, this conversation with others who will be inspired by it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.